A beef between two titans of the New York music scene hits the sex trafficking and racketeering trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Why 50 Cent was brought up this week during emotional witness testimony. Combs and 50, they've been at odds for a long time. And now, one of them is facing the possibility of spending the rest of their life in federal prison, and the other is not holding back or hiding the apparent joy they find in that possibility happening with a guilty verdict.
The tension in the courtroom was already thick, but it shattered into charged silence when the judge uttered the next name. Curtis Jackson, known to millions as 50 Cent. A ripple ran through the gallery. Cameras jolted into position, reporters went silent mid-sentence, and all eyes locked on the man walking to the stand. At the defense table, Diddy sat rigid, his jaw tightening with every step 50 took. The moment felt less like testimony and more like a showdown years in the making.
Diddy Combs and 50 Cent. These two go back a long time. They have been rivals for a long time. And this week we learned that, at least from Diddy's side of things, this feud apparently went far beyond words. 50 Cent's name came up during the testimony this week of Capricorn Clark. She is a former assistant of Sean Combs who went on to become the head of marketing for his Sean John clothing brand. Clark rose successfully and professionally through the ranks of Diddy's world during her time working for him, which stretched between 2004 to 2018, so she saw a lot. Clark claimed that Diddy would threaten her, and she says he even kidnapped her in 2011. All of this matters as we build up to how 50 Cent kind of factors into what she said on the stand. Now, Capricorn Clark started working for Bad Boy after she worked for Death Row Records. Now that's surprising, since Death Row was ran by perhaps Diddy's most hated enemy, Suge Knight. Clark said that one of her good friends had a baby with Suge Knight, and that's how she knew him. And in perhaps the most shocking story from her testimony, Clark claimed that shortly after she started working for Diddy, Diddy and his security guards took her to Central Park after dark, and Diddy said, quote, "He told me he didn't know that I had anything to do with Suge Knight, and if anything happened, he would have to kill me." It is an allegation that paints Combs as someone who is ready to take a life. But as Capricorn Clark's testimony continued, she brought up another rival of Sean Diddy Combs and another allegation that he made an ominous threat of violence. Clark testified, when working for Diddy, they went to a press event at MTV and 50 Cent was there. And just wait until you hear what she says Diddy told 50's manager. 50 Cent's real name is Curtis Jackson. He rose to fame in the early 2000s. You might remember songs like In the Club. You might remember that he was the leader of the rap group G-Unit. Now, 50 grew up in Jamaica, Queens, New York. Diddy, also a New York native. He was born in Harlem, grew up in Mount Vernon, New York, just about 20 miles away. And even though they both had success in music, they both rose to fame representing the city of New York and the rap scene there, they have been longtime rivals. In 2006, 50 Cent released a diss track about Diddy. So almost 20 years ago, this goes back a long way. And in that diss track, he says, quote, "Who shot Biggie Smalls? We don't get 'em. They gon' kill us all. Man, Puffy know who hit that expletive. Man, that expletive soft." Now, 50 is accusing Combs there of knowing who killed his friend, the notorious B.I.G. Christopher Wallace. Wallace and Puffy were incredibly close, but Wallace was shot and killed in a drive-by shooting in Los Angeles in 1997, and no one has ever been charged for pulling the trigger. This all happened during really the height of the East Coast-West Coast rap rivalry of the 90s, which involved Suge Knight, who we mentioned earlier. 50 Cent has also accused Diddy of orchestrating the murder of death row rapper Tupac Shakur, who died in 1996 in a Las Vegas drive-by shooting. This is Dwayne Keith D. Davis. He was arrested in September 2023, and he is the only person facing charges related to Tupac's murder. But 50 Cent has continued to push the allegation that Sean Combs either knows something or did something for Tupac to end up dead, though Diddy has denied that. But in a 2023 Instagram post, 50 wrote, "Damn, so Pac got lined by brother love, LOL, time to lawyer up, expletive, might get sticky," with a pic of Suge Knight in a car with Tupac. Diddy, who has a lot of names, Puff Daddy, Puffy, Puff, and Brother Love is one of those other names. Now, from Diddy's side of things, again, he's denied having anything to do with Tupac's murder, and he's also denied having anything to do with Christopher Wallace's death, and he's denied publicly having issues with with 50 Cent. Here's what Combs said when he was asked about.
Because he knew this wasn't just another witness, this was a rival. A voice too loud, too unshakable, too independent, to be bought or bullied. 50 Cent took the stand with the same confidence he's carried his whole career, calm, collected, completely unfazed. Locking eyes with Diddy, he said, "You remember those nights? You know what happened? I'm just here, so the rest of the world can finally hear it." There were no games in his tone, only purpose. He started by laying out their long history, shared spaces in the industry, the clubs, the parties, the business deals. But beneath the surface, he said, was something dark. You'd hear the whispers, 50 explained, but when you got too close, they weren't whispers anymore. They were reality, and most people ain't built to see that kind of truth.
A beef with 50 in a 2018 interview with the radio show The Breakfast Club, Power 105.1 FM.
Hey, yo, I don't have no beef with
I don't know why.
With Fifth. He loves me. He loves me.
Do y'all
Y'all
really
can't
have a
see it?
beef?
I mean, y'all can't see it.
No, we can't see
Y'all can't
it,
see
man.
that he loves me?
But see,
You really, hold on, you really think that's hate?
If you look at 50's social media, you can see he has a lot of posts about Diddy. And this is what he posted the day that federal agents in Miami raided Combs' mansion ahead of his arrest on the charges that he's now on trial for. 50 Cent posted on X, "Now it's not Diddy do it, it's Diddy done. They don't come like that unless they got a case." 50 Cent also included a link to his G-Unit clothing brand in that post. While Diddy in the Breakfast Club clip said that 50 Cent actually loves him and there was never a beef, on the stand this week, Capricorn Clark said otherwise. Clark said that she was at this press event at MTV with Diddy and 50 Cent was also there, all of this happening in New York. Clark said, quote, "After the interview wrapped up, myself, Puff, and Chris Lighty got in the elevator." Clark said that Lighty was an entertainment manager who, on paper, was managing Diddy at the time, but was also 50 Cent's manager at the time. Prosecutors asked Clark what happened in the elevator, and she said, quote, "Puff told Chris, because they were having some sort of issue, like, I really don't like all the back and forth. I don't do that. I like guns." The prosecutor then asked, "What's the issue with an individual?" And Clark responded, he had an issue with 50 Cent. She said Combs was very serious when he said that. In this case, it has become common to hear testimony from witnesses about alleged threats by Diddy. In fact, several witnesses have said that Diddy regularly threatened to fire people, to beat people, like his former girlfriend Cassie Ventura, and in this case, making a threat involving firearms to settle a dispute, per the testimony of someone who was one of his closest associates for more than a decade. Invoking gun violence and some sort of veiled threat, that could be scary for some, but apparently not 50 Cent. On Instagram, 50 posted right after his name came up in the courtroom, quote, cut, wait a minute. Puffy's got a gun? I can't believe this. I don't feel safe, with a picture that looked like an AI image of 50 Cent on a movie set looking serious. And he wasn't done. Shortly after that, he posted another AI image on Instagram of him in a Yankees hat with a very scared look on his face with the caption, "Oh my goodness, itty bitty Diddy wants me dead. I have to lay low." Sad face emoji. "I think I'm gonna hide out at the playoff game tonight, LOL. Then the next day he posted what he did that night. He went to the NBA playoff game between the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers in Indiana. And you can see him here in a picture on the floor in a shirt that reads, quote, "Free Diddy," playing into the trolling that 50 Cent has done to Sean Combs over the years, even before Combs was ever accused of what he is on trial for. Now, Combs' trial is expected to last another month at least. He's charged with racketeering, sex trafficking by force, and transportation to engage in prostitution. He has pleaded not guilty. Join us now to talk more about the trial of Sean Diddy Combs and everything that's going on inside the courtroom is Afi Patterson, civil and criminal defense attorney. Thanks for taking the time to be with us. We're focusing on what was a minor moment in the grand scheme of everything we heard in the trial this week, but there's this anecdote that Capricorn Clark told about what related to 50 Cent, but what Diddy allegedly told 50 Cent's manager at MTV during her time of working for Diddy. What did you make of that? Sean Combs saying, "I don't like the back and forth."
Then he dropped the word that froze the courtroom: freak-offs. With no hesitation, 50 Cent detailed what the public had only whispered about: secret hotel parties whispered about last minute, filled with celebrities, models, and unknowns. No phones, no cameras, just Diddy and his curated guest list. What went on behind those closed doors, he said, wasn't just indulgent, it was predatory. Drugs flowed freely. Minors were present. People were coerced, threatened, told to smile or leave, and if they tried to leave, they'd get a call the next day reminding them to stay quiet. According to 58, these nights weren't just about pleasure. They were about control, blackmail, power. Freak-offs were leveraged, disguised as luxury. He started naming names, a young artist who vanished after one of those nights. A model whose contract dissolved after she tried to speak up. Assistants who loomed nearby, always watching. The prosecution backed him up, flashing grainy photos. On screen, Diddy surrounded by his inner circle, rooms with tinted windows, familiar hotel corridors. Calm and deliberate. 50 laid out the locations, the dates, the faces. People act like this happens in the shadows. He told the jury, it's not hidden, it's protected. By money, by fame, by fear. And then he added, but I ain't scared. He recounted one night in Miami he had gone out of curiosity. After hearing the rumors, what he saw stunned him. 2 young faces, heavy drugs, cameras passed between hands. That wasn't partying, he said. That was insurance. That was blackmail in real time. He left early. The next day, Diddy called him. You know what you saw? Be smart. 50 said, I hung up because I already knew what time it was. The courtroom was completely silent.
With the caption, "This is what a real Diddy party looks like." The video showed a number of famous faces, including Jay-Z and Beyonce, Kim Kardashian, her then-husband Kanye West, Naomi Campbell, and several others who were all together to celebrate Diddy's 50th birthday in 2019. Fast forward to 2024, 50 was asked why there have been so many silent voices when it comes to celebs speaking out about Diddy, as if they're afraid to speak up. 50 replied in part, some of them were involved at the parties and enjoyed themselves, so they don't know what the F is on the tape or what's not on the tape. So they're not going to say anything because they might have had too much fun. And then you got other people who look at it and go, well, that's not my business and I don't want to be in it. Then you got a part of our culture that says that's snitching or dry snitching. It's uncomfortable for me to say what I said because I've been saying this stuff for 4 or 5 years. Everybody else is not going to be as comfortable as I'm saying it. 50 Cent then alleged there's one famous friend that is aware of Diddy's alleged disturbing behavior. R&B legend Mary J. Blige, who got her start at Diddy's Bad Boy Records, has been a longtime friend of the embattled rapper and producer. But she reportedly has a great relationship with 50 Cent as well. When asked if Mary J. Blige reached out to 50, he responded, no, you know what? Mary never reached out to tell me not to F up Puffy because she knows he does that stuff. As Diddy and 50 Cent have long been in the rap game, they share another commonality, and that's 50 Cent's ex-girlfriend and the mother of his youngest son, Daphne Joy Navarez. The actress and OnlyFans model was named in Rodney Jones' suit against Diddy as she was referenced to as an alleged sex worker of Diddy's that also gets paid a monthly stipend. She has denied those allegations in a post made to social media, writing, I am deeply hurt by the lies in Rodney Jones' lawsuit. The claim that I'm a sex worker is 100% false and character assassination. I am retaining an attorney to explore all legal remedies against both Rodney and his attorney. 50 Cent seemingly poked fun at the allegation of the mother of his son being an alleged sex worker. In a post made to his social media page, 50 wrote a caption, I didn't know you was a sex worker, you little sex worker, LOL. But this would prompt Daphne Joy to respond to her ex again on social media, but this time would accuse 50 directly of rape and being abusive during their relationship. She would write in part, everything is a joke to you until our safety is compromised, which is happening now. You are wreaking real havoc, frenzy, and chaos onto people's lives. How would you feel if Sire was the one in handcuffs? For nothing. Let's put the real focus on your true evil actions of raping me and physically abusing me. You are no longer my oppressor, and my God will handle you from this point on. You have permanently damaged the last hope I had for you as a father to preserve our family with these last and final false claims made against me. You have broken our hearts for the last and final time. Those allegations against 50 Cent would prompt him to fire back against his ex Daphne Joy and sue her for defamation. In his suit, 50 Cent said those allegations were unequivocally false and would claim she made the shocking allegations in retaliation after he moved to take sole custody of their son. Since that suit, Daphne has deleted her Instagram post accusing 50 of rape and physical abuse. 50 Cent was asked by The Hollywood Reporter the latest in the defamation suit. The rapper and television producer said he tiptoes around the Daphne stuff and explained why. He said, I got a family court case. The allegations that came out, she posted.
Then 50 Cent pulled out a worn notebook pages filled with names, dates, and cryptic notes, a timeline linking parties and events to individuals who either vanished from the spotlight or suddenly became fiercely loyal to Diddy. People think he made careers. 50 said, nah, he bought silence. The prosecution backed it up with NDAs, wire transfers, and confidential settlements. exposing not isolated incidents, but a full-fledged system. He told the court this wasn't just about wild parties, it was about an empire built on exploitation, admitting he'd stayed quiet for years, not out of fear, but out of strategy. 50 said, "You don't survive in this industry by being loud too early. You survive by gathering receipts, and I've got everyone I need." Then came the damning texts, one from a producer, "Last night got dark. That boy shouldn't have been there." Another from a bodyguard, "We're burning the footage." Sean said no one can see it. Diddy sat silent, sweat forming, the carefully crafted image of his legacy unraveling in real time. 50 ended with a final blow. "I ain't here because I hate the man. I'm here because I've seen what he's done, and I ain't letting that slide." He stepped down, and the silence in the room was deafening. But what followed was even more explosive. Diddy stood up, red-faced, yelling that 50 was a liar, and accusing the court of staging a takedown, only to be quickly silenced by his own attorney. The outburst lit up the media. Hashtags like #FreakOffFiles and number 50 spoke trended worldwide as whispers of a bigger unraveling gripped the industry. 50's notebook was submitted into evidence, and investigators immediately flagged entries that matched real-world collapses, unexplained absences, and sudden silences. During cross-examination, Diddy's lawyer tried to dismiss him as a bitter rival, but 50 stared down the jury and said, "You think I need beef to tell the truth? This ain't about rap. This is about bodies, souls, people who never got to speak." He spoke of artists bound by contracts that stripped them of everything, how questions were met with financial ruin or public disgrace. He told a chilling story about a 17-year-old artist who attended a freak-off and disappeared from music forever. Then came footage, hotel check-ins, security clips, silent hallways filled with recognizable faces, timestamps matching Diddy's calendar. No longer rumor, no longer innuendo. It was real. Diddy looked cornered, his defense crumbling, and the public, they weren't watching for drama, they were watching the truth unfold. 50's testimony wasn't vengeance, it was justice. For the silenced artists, the assistants who'd seen too much, the kids sacrificed for fame. The judge called for a trial extension, more witnesses, more names. And though Diddy's was first, it was far from the last. When 50 left the courthouse, he said nothing, just got in his car and disappeared into the chaos he'd just ignited. Because the silence had been shattered. And now, Diddy sat in that courtroom with an empire rotting from within, because when you build a kingdom on secrets, all it takes is one voice with nothing left to lose. And that voice was 50 Cent. And this time, the world was finally listening.